If you want to learn French in Montreal, you should be very careful about which part of the city you live in or visit. French isn't as dominant everywhere in the city, and if you're new to Montreal, the language differences between neighborhoods are not obvious at all.
Here's a language map of the island of Montreal. It shows how many people speak French as their first official language, which basically means that their French is stronger than their English, ignoring any other languages they speak.
These obviously aren't the only people who can speak French, but they're the best people to have around for French exposure and practice, so they're going to be the basis of our neighborhood recommendations.
Green areas on the map show neighborhoods where people who are stronger in French than English make up at least 50% of the population, which is light green, or at least 75% of the population, which is dark green. If you're serious about learning French, you should try to at least live in a light green area, but ideally a dark green area if possible.
If it helps get you oriented, here's the Montreal metro system on the map. We'll come back to this view later for a summary at the end, but first we're going to cover the good and bad areas for French across the island of Montreal.
Let's start with the places you want to avoid. These areas are different from each other in a lot of ways, but they share one thing. They act like anglophone or multilingual bubbles that won't give you the typical Montreal or Quebec experience.
The first place to avoid is downtown. The areas around McGill and Concordia, the two English universities, are among the least French places in the city. What's worse for aspiring French learners is that people and businesses downtown are very used to using English with tourists and visitors.
Another area to avoid is the big block of English to the west of downtown. It spans much of the neighborhoods of Côte-des-Neiges, Notre-Dame-de-Grâce, and LaSalle, and then the independent cities of Westmount, Hampstead, Côte-Saint-Luc, and Montreal West.
Other less French areas to watch out for are the neighborhood of Park Extension in the city and also the West Island, which is a large but less populated suburban area to the west of the airport.
The problem with these more English parts of the city isn't that there's no one who can speak French to you. Even the traditional English enclave of Westmount still has 25% of the population stronger in French than English and 80% of the population capable of speaking French.
The problem with these areas is that they make it so easy and natural to speak English in most contexts. You're already going out of your comfort zone when you practice your second language. You'll make it even harder for yourself if you choose to live in an area where English is the default.
The easiest way to guarantee a more French area is to go to the large eastern portion of the city, starting at St. Laurent Boulevard. It's really northeast geographically, but directions in Montreal are skewed by the road layout and the flow of the river.
This includes the neighborhoods of the Plateau, Rosemont, Villeray, Ahuntsic, and Hochelaga-Maisonneuve, extending to most of the rest of the island in that direction. Most of these areas are dark green, which means that people who are French dominant outnumber, by 3 to 1, everyone else, meaning people who are English dominant or equally strong in French and English.
This is a great language learning environment because French will be the default language that most people will use in most contexts. You'll hear a lot of French around you, and defaulting to French yourself will feel more natural and less awkward here than in other parts of the city.
Other concentrations of French around the city include Verdun, St. Henry, Nuns Island, Lachine, the area around the University of Montreal, much of Outremont, and then most of the independent town of Montreal.
But these areas aren't as large or as French as the eastern portion of the city, so learning French here might take more effort and dedication on your end. Still, they're a lot better than the orange and red areas on the map that we recommended against earlier.
Another consideration, whether you're moving to Montreal or just visiting, is being close to a metro station. The top choice for concentration of French speakers is the eastern stretch of the Green Line, with the eastern side of the Orange Line coming in second.
Tied for third is the southwestern portion of the Green Line and most of the Blue Line, which are less solidly French and are closer to more English areas. You probably want to avoid the downtown portions of the Green and Orange Lines, as well as most of the western side of the Orange Line.
With this starting point, hopefully you can narrow down which area is right for you based on other factors like atmosphere, price, and employment.